으악! 뭐야? 에이, 맞다. 이것도 씨앗이네. 안 돼. 으악! 우와. 정리가. 많다. 크다. 우와. 우와.
짧아가지고.
Said that you've been hurt one too many times before. Ended up staring in the bathroom mirror, crying on your bedroom floor. Baby, you can take my word, you haven't gotta hurt no more. Things are about to get much better. I wanna make this forever. I wanna make this forever.